Donald Trump's stance on Canadian oil has taken a surprising turn, leaving many scratching their heads. Not long ago, he downplayed the need for Canadian imports, insisting that the US could stand on its own when it came to energy production. But now, he's pushing for a major pipeline project to bring Canadian oil straight to American refineries. This shift highlights an interesting contradiction. On one hand, Trump has often taken a tough stance against Canada, even declaring that the US doesn't need its oil. But on the other, his latest comments reveal a different reality. America's energy sector still leans heavily on Canadian resources. And just like that, the debate is back. Trump has been flipping between criticizing Canada and calling for massive energy projects like the Keystone XL pipeline. In a recent social media post, he slammed President Biden for canceling the project and made a bold call for action. Our country is doing really well, and today I was just thinking, the company behind the Keystone XL pipeline, kicked to the curb by the incompetent Biden administration, should come back to America and get it built now. They were treated terribly by Sleepy Joe, but the Trump administration is different. Easy approvals, fast start. If not them, another company should step up. We want the Keystone XL pipeline built. Trump's fiery remarks have reignited the conversation about the pipeline's future. Supporters say bringing it back would mean thousands of jobs and greater energy security for North America. Critics, however, warn that it's not that simple. Environmental concerns, the risk of spills, and the fact that the original developer, TC Energy, has already moved on to other projects make this an uphill battle. And that's not even mentioning the regulatory red tape that would have to be untangled. During a high-profile meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron on February 24, 2025, Donald Trump made a major announcement that sent shockwaves through North America. The US is officially moving forward with a hefty 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, set to take effect on March 3rd. We're sticking to the plan, Trump declared. The tariffs are happening. Right on time, right on schedule. He doubled down on his stance, making it clear that the US won't back down, adding, "Whatever they charge us, we charge them." But Canada isn't taking this move lightly. In response, the Canadian government is rolling out its own set of countermeasures designed to protect its economy, industries, and workers. The plan? A matching 25% tariff on 155 billion Canadian dollars worth of American goods. And it won't just be a blanket response. Canada is playing this strategically. The retaliation will come in two waves. First, an immediate round of tariffs will target 30 billion Canadian dollars worth of US exports. This includes everyday essentials like beef, pork, and poultry, as well as dairy products, fresh produce, and packaged foods like cereal, snacks, and soda. Even American-made alcoholic beverages, bourbon, Tennessee whiskey, beer, and wine will be hit with tariffs, making them pricier for Canadian consumers. And that's not all. The impact will stretch beyond food and drinks. The first phase also takes aim at household appliances like refrigerators and dishwashers, along with personal care products, clothing, and footwear. Even industrial supplies, steel, aluminum, rubber, plastics, and wood will be affected. But Canada isn't stopping there. A second wave of tariffs is already in the works and will roll out on March 25th, following a public consultation period. This phase will expand the hit list to an additional 125 billion Canadian dollars in American goods, with a focus on the automotive sector. Expect higher prices on passenger cars, trucks, and key auto parts like batteries, tires, and electronic components. The aerospace and defense industries won't be spared either, with tariffs on aircraft parts and maintenance services. Canada is also looking beyond just tariffs. There's serious talk of restricting exports of critical minerals, think lithium, nickel, and cobalt, key materials that the US relies on for tech and energy industries. And in another bold move, Canada may even block American companies from bidding on government projects at both the federal and provincial levels. Canada isn't taking the latest US trade moves lightly. In response to the looming tariffs, the Canadian government is rolling out a series of countermeasures designed to shield its industries and send a strong message to Washington. One of the most striking strategies under review? Tightening the flow of key resources to the US, including possible restrictions on oil and natural gas exports, commodities that American industries heavily rely on. And it's not just the federal government taking action. Provincial leaders are stepping up too. In Ontario, the Liquor Board has announced plans to remove American-made alcoholic beverages from store shelves, prioritizing Canadian products instead. It's a calculated move, reinforcing support for local businesses while applying pressure where it hurts: American exporters. These actions are part of a larger strategy to assert economic strength without causing unnecessary harm to Canadian consumers and industries. The message is clear. Canada won't sit back while the US imposes trade restrictions that threaten its economy. But how did things escalate to this point? The answer lies in Donald Trump's latest and perhaps most audacious statements about Canada. For months, Trump's stance on Canada has shifted dramatically. Initially dismissing Canadian imports as unimportant, he has now taken things a step further, suggesting that Canada should simply become part of the United States. In a series of Truth Social posts, he made his position shockingly clear. We send Canada hundreds of billions of dollars. For what? There's no reason. We don't need anything from them. We have our own energy, our own cars, and more lumber than we could ever use. Without this massive subsidy, Canada wouldn't even survive. It's harsh, but it's the truth. So Canada should just join the US as our 51st state. Lower taxes, better military protection, no tariffs. It's a win-win. The comment sent shockwaves through political and economic circles. Was this just another Trump-style provocation? Or was he laying the groundwork for a deeper geopolitical push? His words not only captured global attention, but also raised a serious question about how far he is willing to go in reshaping America's relationship with its closest neighbor. What makes Trump's remarks even more baffling is the contradiction at their core. On one hand, he claims the US doesn't need anything from Canada, arguing that American industries are entirely self-sufficient. Yet, in the same breath, he acknowledges Canada's crucial role in America's energy supply and economic stability. He has repeatedly shifted between dismissing Canada as insignificant and highlighting the supposed benefits of annexation. His argument? If Canada were part of the US, trade barriers wouldn't be a problem. This isn't the first time Trump has played the economic tough guy on the global stage. But his latest comments about Canada signal a new level of boldness, one that goes beyond mere trade disputes and into the realm of national identity and sovereignty. Donald Trump's latest remarks about Canada have sparked outrage, with his rhetoric shifting from trade disputes to something even more provocative, suggesting that Canada should be absorbed into the United States. His recent statements paint a picture of Canada not as a trusted ally or equal partner, but as a country that should fall in line with American economic interests. He's been blunt about his stance, stating, "Canada has treated us unfairly in trade for years, but now they're going to pay up." Backing up his words with action, Trump has rolled out steep tariffs, slapping a 25% tax on most Canadian goods while keeping a 10% rate on energy products. He claims this move is necessary to protect American jobs and national security. But critics argue it's more about economic intimidation than fairness. Trump insists these tariffs are a response to policies he claims are harming the US, from immigration concerns to the opioid crisis, specifically mentioning fentanyl. Without these tariffs, we're essentially footing the bill for Canada, he said during a press conference, doubling down on his belief that the trade relationship is one-sided. But there's a glaring contradiction in this strategy. The US depends on Canada for more than a quarter of its daily oil imports, a fact that makes Trump's aggressive stance a risky gamble. While his administration frames these tariffs as a way to pressure Canada into new trade deals, they also expose just how much the US actually needs its northern neighbor. Trump's suggestion that Canada should become the 51st state isn't just an offhand remark. It appears to be part of a larger negotiation tactic. In one of his many Truth Social posts, he wrote, "Canada should join us as our cherished 51st state. Lower taxes, stronger security, and finally, paying their fair share." This statement follows a pattern. By presenting statehood as a way to avoid tariffs, he's trying to box Canada into a corner. Either they integrate further into America's economic and security framework, or they face severe trade consequences. But Canada isn't taking the bait. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has flat out rejected the idea, calling it laughable, and reinforcing that Canada will remain independent. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was even more direct, stating, "Canada is a sovereign nation. We are nobody's 51st state." From Vancouver to Toronto, from Montreal to Calgary, Canadians are making one thing clear: their country is not up for grabs. Across social media, the hashtag number #CanadaNotForSale is trending, and patriotic rallies are drawing thousands of supporters. It's not just a political issue, it's a matter of national pride. But while the public is standing firm, Canada's leaders are preparing for a serious economic battle. In response to Trump's 25% tariff on Canadian goods, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government has launched a bold countermeasure. Canada has imposed its own 25% tariffs on 155 billion Canadian dollars worth of American products. These counter tariffs hit key U.S. industries, including agriculture, consumer goods, and manufacturing. The retaliation comes in two waves. Phase 1, already in effect. 30 billion Canadian dollars in U.S. goods now face tariffs, impacting American beef, pork, poultry, dairy, fruits, vegetables, and even snacks like cereals and soft drinks. Alcoholic beverages such as bourbon, Tennessee whiskey, beer, and wine are also being taxed. Everyday household products like washing machines, refrigerators, dishwashers, cosmetics, and clothing are facing restrictions as well. Industrial materials, including steel, aluminum, plastics, rubber, and wood, are also on the list. Phase 2, coming March 25, 2025. Canada will expand tariffs to an additional 125 billion Canadian dollars in U.S. imports. The automotive industry will take a major hit, with tariffs on cars, trucks, batteries, tires, and electrical parts. The aerospace and defense sectors will also face new restrictions. Further agricultural products, corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, and processed meats will be targeted. Canada is even considering cutting off key mineral exports like lithium, nickel, and cobalt, resources essential to U.S. industries. Trudeau's government isn't stopping at tariffs. It's also exploring additional ways to hit back at the U.S., banning U.S. companies from bidding on Canadian government projects. Restricting exports of oil, natural gas, and other critical resources to the U.S. provincial governments, like Ontario's Liquor Board, are pulling American alcohol from store shelves. These actions are part of a broader strategy to push back against what Canada sees as economic bullying. While Trump has framed his trade war as a fight for American jobs, his rhetoric suggests something much bigger is at play. In a series of fiery posts on Truth Social, he stunned the world by declaring, "We pay hundreds of billions to subsidize Canada. Why? There's no reason. They should just become our 51st state. It would mean lower taxes, better military protection, and no tariffs." The remarks sparked international outrage, with many accusing Trump of openly advocating for U.S. expansionism. On one hand, Trump downplays Canada's importance, claiming the U.S. doesn't need its resources. On the other hand, he repeatedly suggests absorbing Canada into the U.S. to bypass economic disputes altogether. His contradictory stance raises questions. Is this just Trump's usual bluster? Or is there a deeper strategy at play? One thing is certain. If Trump pushes Canada too far, the U.S. could face serious consequences. The American economy runs on Canadian energy. Over 4 million barrels of Canadian crude oil flow into the U.S. every day. This accounts for 60% of all imported oil. The U.S. also relies on 8.5 billion cubic feet of Canadian natural gas daily, which powers homes, businesses, and industries. This isn't just about trade, it's about U.S. energy security. Canada and the U.S. have clashed over energy infrastructure before, most notably with the Keystone XL pipeline. The pipeline was designed to increase Canadian oil exports to the U.S. However, it was blocked multiple times by U.S. administrations, with Biden canceling it in 2021. The move frustrated Canadian leaders who viewed it as an economic betrayal. Now, with tensions rising again, Canada is considering limiting energy exports to the US, a move that could shake global markets. With billions of dollars at stake and national pride on the line, both countries refuse to back down. The standoff is escalating quickly, and the world is watching closely. When people think about Canada's role in the US energy market, oil and gas are usually the first things that come to mind. But Canada isn't just America's biggest crude supplier. It's also a powerhouse in electricity, minerals, and nuclear fuel. Every time someone in New York, Michigan, or New England flips a light switch, there's a good chance some of that power came straight from Canada. Provinces like Quebec and Ontario supply huge amounts of hydroelectric power to the US. This energy helps stabilize the American grid, especially when demand spikes during heat waves or winter storms. Because hydropower is clean and renewable, it also helps the US meet climate goals. While electricity exports aren't as massive as oil and gas, they're crucial for keeping the lights on in many American cities. But Canada's role in US energy goes way beyond fossil fuels and electricity. The country is also a global leader in critical minerals, the raw materials needed for everything from electric vehicle batteries to fighter jets. Canada is rich in lithium, nickel, cobalt, and rare earth elements, metals that are essential for modern technology. These minerals are used in solar panels, wind turbines, and electric cars, making them a key part of the green energy revolution. The US is heavily dependent on Canada for uranium, which fuels its nuclear power plants and helps keep electricity grids running. Without Canada's minerals, American industries would struggle to compete in a world that's rapidly shifting toward cleaner and more advanced technology. One of the most controversial energy projects between the US and Canada has been the Keystone XL pipeline. This wasn't just a single pipe in the ground. It was supposed to be a game changer for North American energy. Keystone's existing pipeline system has been in operation since 2010, transporting millions of barrels of oil from Alberta's oil sands to refineries in Illinois, Texas, and Oklahoma. The Keystone XL extension was planned as a 1,200-mile shortcut, allowing Canada to ship an extra 830,000 barrels per day straight to Nebraska and beyond. The goal: make oil transportation faster, cheaper, and more efficient. But the project quickly became a political lightning rod. Environmentalists were fiercely opposed to the project, arguing that the oil from Alberta's tar sands is one of the dirtiest in the world, producing more pollution than regular crude. A pipeline spill could devastate local ecosystems. The US should be focusing on clean energy, not expanding fossil fuels. On the other hand, supporters argued that Keystone XL would boost US energy security by reducing dependence on oil from hostile nations. It would create thousands of jobs and strengthen economic ties between the two countries. Pipelines are safer than shipping oil by train or truck, which comes with higher risks of accidents. The project flip-flopped between administrations, approved under Trump, then canceled by Biden in 2021, sparking outrage in Canada. For over a decade, the Keystone XL pipeline has been one of the most heated debates in North America. Supporters saw it as a game changer for energy security and job creation, while opponents called it a climate disaster waiting to happen. The project was started, stopped, restarted, and then canceled again. But even now, it refuses to fade away. Now, in 2025, talk of bringing Keystone XL back has sparked new controversy. But is it even possible? And if it were, would it still be worth the fight? One of the biggest reasons Keystone XL became such a lightning rod for opposition was where its oil came from. Unlike conventional drilling, Keystone XL was meant to transport oil from Alberta's tar sands, a type of crude that's heavier, thicker, and far more polluting than traditional oil. Here's why that matters. 81%. More emissions. Extracting and refining tar sands, oil produces far more greenhouse gases than regular crude. More energy to process. Because it's so thick, tar sands oil requires more heat and chemicals to extract and refine, further increasing its carbon footprint. For climate activists, approving Keystone XL would have been like pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. But the environmental risk didn't stop there. The pipeline's route would have cut through some of the most fragile ecosystems in North America, including the Sandhills of Nebraska, a region of grass-covered dunes that acts as a natural water filter for underground reserves. The Ogallala Aquifer, one of the largest freshwater sources in North America, providing drinking water and irrigation for millions of people. A single oil spill could have poisoned these water supplies for generations. And while pipeline operators claimed the risk was low, critics pointed to past pipeline leaks as proof that accidents weren't just possible, they were inevitable. For many indigenous communities, Keystone XL wasn't just about oil or climate, it was about sovereignty. Tribal leaders, particularly from the Sioux and Cheyenne nations, argued that the pipeline's construction would cross sacred lands without proper consultation, threaten burial sites and cultural landmarks, ignore treaties that were meant to protect indigenous territories. This wasn't just a new fight, it was part of a long history of infrastructure projects being built without the consent of indigenous peoples. Protests erupted. Indigenous activists, environmental groups, and landowners banded together, determined to stop the pipeline. And for a time, they succeeded. Keystone XL quickly became a political football, kicked back and forth by different U.S. presidents. 2015, Barack Obama rejects the project, citing climate concerns. 2017, Donald Trump reverses Obama's decision, fast-tracking Keystone XL's approval. 2021, Joe Biden cancels it again, fulfilling a campaign promise to fight climate change. 2021, June, the pipeline's developer TC Energy officially abandons the project. For many, that seemed like the final nail in the coffin, but now, in 2025, things are getting interesting again. Despite being canceled and scrapped, talk of Keystone XL is making a comeback. With Donald Trump once again signaling support for the pipeline, there's renewed speculation about whether it could be revived. But here's the problem. TC Energy, the company behind the pipeline, has moved on. The company has restructured, sold off materials, and dismantled infrastructure tied to Keystone XL. The oil market has changed. Global demand for crude oil is shifting, with renewable energy growing faster than ever. Legal battles would be inevitable. Even if a new pipeline were proposed, environmental groups, indigenous activists, and state governments would likely challenge it in court. So, is Keystone XL really coming back, or is this just another political talking point? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.